Hello and welcome to Getting Naked with Happiness with me, Stephen Liu. So far, we have heard some incredible stories of resilience and learned secrets for success and happiness. But now, let's see what the experts have to say about human flourishing and create your very own well-being toolkit. Today, we have a very exciting guest, and his name is Barney Wee. And Barney founded the Mind Transformations in 1997, and he has been conducting NLP training and coaching programs ever since. Mind Transformation has become the leading provider of NLP solutions in Singapore, and with the largest pool of certified NLP practitioners and masters practitioners. His work has also spread to Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Mauritius. He has an MA in psychology, which is a Master's of Arts in Psychology, and he's on a PhD program in professional coaching. He is an NLP master trainer and a life and executive coach. So for the past 20 years, Barney has trained thousands of practitioners and corporate executives, and even coached one of the members of the Singapore women team who climbed Mount Everest. Barney, you have a lot of work in the area of personal development that encompasses communication, coaching, self-mastery using NLP. Can you share with us a little bit more about what you do in these areas?
Well, one of the things that is challenging to define NLP is it's a very broad topic. The easiest way to be able to relate to it, right, is a form of applied psychology. It has the research aspect of it has grown over the last maybe two decades or so, but its emphasis is on the application. That means we take known science on language, behavior, cognitive and behavioral functions, and put it into application so that people are able to get results. So the initial starting point at NLP, right, I think a lot of people know, we started looking at people who are good at what they do. We call it modeling. We model people who are excellent in a particular field. And then we extrapolate the information into practical strategies. We turn excellence, right, into actions that you can take, right, at the right time, at the right place. So when people are good at something, how do we actually turn it into a way of thinking, a way of feeling, and way of acting so that we can actually fire those knowledge that we get out from people at the right time, at the right place, in that sense. So that's kind of like the nutshell of what NLP is about.
I came across one of the books called Loon Shots. This is another story. They say something about sometimes we could look at a structure rather than the culture. And it seems to suggest that you have a certain structure that we can apply to model after us to become a better version of ourselves.
Yeah. Is this the idea about better version of ourselves? I remember talking about this way back, 15 years back in time. Because in terms of personal mastery, right, or self-mastery, we evolve in stages. We evolve in different stages. Yeah. In some way, it dovetails adult development. Adult development, you are infant, then you go to adolescent, teenager, young adult, mature adult, and then you have the golden years. So that's kind of biological in nature. But there's another aspect about development, which is much more about the maturity of someone. So that actually the work continues, right, after what we call when we reach adulthood. In terms of biological study, right, it stops at adulthood. But the psychological maturity of people, right, continues from our early 20s or 18, right, all the way to 85 to 100 years old, in that sense. So this aspect of adulthood, right, we have different version of us in that sense. So certainly this is one of those topics that is, I don't think it's mainstream yet. It is not mainstream yet, but it is certainly a very important question that we need to start examining ourselves in contrast or in relationship to what is happening around the world today. Because the rate of change is exponential, really, really exponential.
Could you share perhaps some of the good questions that we ought to be asking ourselves?
One is, what are some of the limitations or judgments that you face in yourself every day? Catch those moments, right, when you either judge someone or you judge a situation or you hold yourself back. What is the so-called the energy or the driving force behind that? So then you get to become aware of the things that you are judging, or the beliefs that you have that is holding your mind about how you go about assessing and handling certain situations. So that's the first question. What are some of the judgments and limitations that you put into yourself and other people in your daily life? Because
Okay.
that's the beginning, right? Is to create an awareness first. Because most people, maybe even above 70% of people, are not aware of the thoughts that's running behind their actions. I mean, am I aware of what I'm saying, what is going on in my thoughts, what value system I'm based upon? So that's highly unconscious. But those things that you are unconscious about, right, is driving your speech, your emotion, your actions. And that's how you deal with your daily affairs in the world. You know what I'm saying? And you can learn more techniques and models and whatever that is. But that mindset, right, behind that worldview, right, for some people, it remains the same.
Mm.
It remains the same, you know? So you
Yeah.
can go for more courses, but your general assumption, your general worldview, right, remains unchanged. So that's where the limitation is. If you don't expand on that, right, your capacity to deal with uh, more stressful, a more complex situation, right, will be limited. Basically, right, you need to have a certain level of adult maturity, right, in order to be able to handle greater level of complexity in that sense. So we
Yeah.
need to be able to develop that psychological maturity. And that means what are the things that you limit ourselves? What are judgment that you have? The assumptions that you have about people and yourself. So the first question, right, is to deal with that.
Mm.
How are you judging and handling people and situation? Why are you saying that? Why do you assume that in the first place? So that would
Mm.
be a good place to begin in a sense.
Oh, this is a very good question, Bunny, because I like the part when you said about what are some of the limitations and judgment we face every single day, judgments and limitations that we have for ourselves and for other people.
Yeah.
And this impact the self-awareness, and not
Mm.
knowing that our self-awareness are controlled by a lot of unconscious factors,
Yeah.
and how the way they interpret the world, as you said, the mindset behind the worldview
Mm.
actually it defines the relationship they have with the world, with
Mm.
themselves and the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is very important because in psychology, we talk about having cognitive distortions
Yeah.
and black and white thinking, whether the
Yeah.
person, some of them in relationships or in long-term social relationships, they face challenges because they are either very polarized thinkers
Yeah.
or they tend to jump to conclusion.
Yeah.
And this impact happiness and how the way they feel about themselves and other people.
Yeah.
I know that you have a favorite quote. Your favorite quote is, "In the power to change oneself is the same power to change the
Yeah.
world."
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
tell us more about this?
It's one of my favorite because it simplifies very complex ideology about human potential, right, into one statement. And it came up from the mouth of this guy is Egyptian minister, Anwar Sadat. And he lives in a period of time whereby there's a lot of tension, a lot of tension in the Middle East, right? And based on his own uh, experience of handling those challenging times, right? His own discovery is that though there's a lot of political tension in different countries, different cultural aspects, and everything else, right? Fundamentally, for each and every one of us, right, the first change that needs to happen is within ourselves. So when you make a shift in yourself, in your worldview, right, then the way you handle people and situation, right, will automatically change. I mean, the world remains what it is, but the way you respond to it will be different. It's it's just another way of saying, right, from Lao Tzu, you know,
Mm.
changing other people, you have strength or whatever, or power. But when you change yourself, right, you have wisdom in that sense. I mean, I'm paraphrasing what Lao Tzu said. Gandhi said the same thing, you know, be the change you want to see in this world. Don't
Mm.
just talk about it, you know. A lot of people
Mm.
talk about change and everything, but they are not in anywhere close to the things that they talk about. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Yeah.
but they, yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that Anwar Sada is saying the same thing in the power to
Mm.
change oneself. It's the same power to change the world.
Mm.
So that becomes a kind of like capstone, right, for almost everything that we do in mind transformation. That we
Mm.
strive to be able to be very careful about what we say that we can do, And we strive to be able to over-deliver what we have promised in that sense, because we know that the company, the individuals, are in a constant state of change. What we believe is that we are a constant work in progress, right? And so, in other words, when we upgrade our bandwidth in ourselves, we also upgrade our capacity to be able to empower, to be able to give higher and wiser information to other people as well. You can't give that to other people when you don't start with yourself. So charity begins at home. So that's kind of a different way of saying, but charity begins in your home here, you know? Yeah. And rather than I'm going to change the world, I want to make this, I want to do that, I want to impact this. But at the same time, let's bring it back to yourself first. Yeah.
You know what? This reminds me. This is an excellent conversation piece, Barney.
Yeah.
Because what you said, your favorite quote, and all these quotes that you share, it reminded me of a conversation that I have with all my close friends, my buddy, and we were talking about personal development, dieting, exercising, and getting up early, getting rid of old habits, and facing your fears. And he's a vegetarian. I've just turned vegan, and we were talking about So the reason I turned vegan is because that I wanted to. Because I love animals and I want to do a small little bit, right?
Yeah.
And he shared an interesting story about that. He will like to focus on that diet choice. It's because he want to care about his own health and because he need to take care of his own health first before he can consider to take care of other things that is bigger than him. So we went to the small little debate and then we started to realize, and I said something about, well, I think we could always the change and transformation should start within ourselves first because it's connected to the world. It's exactly based on what you say in the power to change oneself is connected to to the world. And since you're on this great work of changing human development, helping your clients to change, helping people to shift their mindsets, and ultimately, I know that many people, they want to change it because they want to be happier, they want to have a better mental health, to be more successful. And this brings me to the next question, Barney. What does happiness mean to you?
I think happiness is knowing that I am part of the solution in the world. Meaning that there are so many things that we can see beauty in this world, right? So if I can live my life first and foremost to be aware that I am not causing more harm and I'm not, as best as I can, I am able to support life rather than destroy life. And if I'm able to purpose my life, that means I take all that I have experienced. I think that for me is I come from a very humble background. To be blatantly honest, I'm come from a very poor background. So and I've gone through a lot of challenges in my life, and going through all that challenges, confirms to me there's something very intelligent and loving in this whole world, in this whole universe that has been there for me. At times when I know that I thought that I don't have any more to give, or I can't handle this situation, miraculously something emerged in me and I'm able to overcome it, right? So not taking that for granted, that overcoming of those difficult situations, right, has helped to enliven, has strengthened, brought forth something inside of me that I didn't know that I have. So my capacity and my knowledge and my skills, right, and my whatever you call it, right, came about because of those challenges. And in those challenging moments, right, when I cannot handle some mysterious things that I don't fully understand, has rise up and carried me through. So I feel a profound sense of gratitude for that. And I want to take all of that, right, to purpose my life in a way that supports life. And if I'm seeing myself supporting life, right, then that for me is happiness in that sense. And supporting life is not just about the world, other people, companies, and everything. It's also about supporting the life within my own family, within my own life, with my own health, with my own dog, my son is autistic, with my own housekeeper and the people that I love in my life, right, in that sense. So it is not, I'm not saying that we all need to be martyrs, you know what I'm saying? But charity begins at home, yourself, the people that you care about. And that, taking all of that, right, you're handling that well. At the same time, you are seeing yourself being able to take all that you have experienced, all the knowledge and skills that you have amassed through your lifetime, making an active contribution to life, to society, right? To make the world a better place in that sense. And that if you see yourself actually doing that, right, then you know that you're living your life with a sense of like a smile in your heart. Like you live your life in a way that's very life-giving rather than life-destroying in that sense.
I like the part you talk about life giving and not life destroying, because
Yeah.
that sort of happiness is also known as like eudaimonic happiness. You're doing something bigger than yourself.
Mm.
You're well connected to meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
And Barney, I like the part where you talk about you have met many challenges that have tested you, and because of these challenges that you make you rise up with resilience.
Yeah.
Could you share a story of a time in your journey that you have experienced a certain challenge and what you have particularly learned from it?
Mm. One that comes to mind is regarding about my business. But when we say business, it's not external. It's actually also very much personal to me, in the
Okay.
sense that back in 2008, 2008 or 2009, right? I'm sure we all can remember the global recession that was triggered by the subprime disaster, right? And during that period of time, it's also the time, right, where we were, as a company, where we were going through a very big change in the sense that we were deciding whether do we want to run our business the same way, which means, right, do a major event, get people to come in, and then they go up to stage and they sing and dance for you, tell you how great they are, how great the program is. And at the end of the night, if you sign up tonight, you will get an extraordinary deal at this amount. It's worth 10 times more. Sign up now. So that was the kind of business that people are hustle and dealing and training room and running their companies, and then hoping to get more people to come in to become investors, and then running your company, hopefully become Boston and consulting,
Yep.
to that kind of model of business whereby we are constantly, right, health-wise, and time-wise, and relationship-wise, right, very poor. And so the idea was, so how do we move to something whereby you can see a little bit more balance and we can actually put down and say, this is the amount, this is the way I'm going to work. I'm going to work with a certain amount of time. I'm able to do what I'm good at. I can work from home. I can collaborate with partners, shrink down our operations so that we don't have a lot of financial weight and burden on us. We are working because we want to, not because we have to, because we got a lot of financial burden in that sense. So that was a moment of time, right, where we make a very bold move. We actually sold our office building. At that point in time, when we sold our office, it was about close to $1 million at that point in time. And then we decentralized ourselves from working in the office. We work from home. But the part is very scary because we are in a space we have never been before. We have to rely not so much on phone call, holding seminar and training room, but we actually go into internet, emails, and getting people through digital and website platform to reach out for people. So we changed our entire model of our business. We went through a period about 2 to 3 years. We gotten enough business to keep ourselves going, but we were really struggling because a lot of time we don't know what we don't know, and we have to be able to stumble into new information and we incorporate the new information as we go. So through the entire period, right, the idea is that if you're not willing to step out of the way you are running things right now, right, because it's not something that you're happy about, but you're afraid to go to something new which you've never done before, right? And that fear of doing something that you've never done before holds you back from trying anything new, which is not making you happy in the first place. I could see that at least 50% of people that I'm working with right now, at least 50%, it means there's more, they are in the same situation that I have gone through myself. So the idea is, how do we actually begin to start challenging some of our own limiting beliefs, streamline our time and our energy so that we have enough bandwidth, right, to try something new. So that aspect of running the business was one of the profound changes that we have gone through in that period of time. And so now, right, we have our business, our class size has gone up like 3 times more than we were before. And our business is primarily done on social media platform, right? But back then, right, social media is still not the big thing, but today it has become a norm. Facebook, LinkedIn, and everybody else. it's a very congested space right now, right? But back then it's not. So to move in that direction when no one is actually showing us the way, right? And we have to stumble around, figure out as we go. The idea about being nimble, very nimble, watch out for weak signals, and then turn the weak signals into something that we could use, right? Was a skill that we developed over time. And I could see that skill development, right, has in some way helped us to be able to change our mindset. The fact that the old mindset, let's confirm, double confirm, triple confirm, settle everything, make sure that everything is all taken care of, making sure everything is all okay, test, then we do, right? Then you will be obsolete. And I'm sure I will be I'm sure I wouldn't have survived that period of time. You know what I'm saying? Or I would have survived, but survive at what cost? Survive at what? By sacrificing your family, by sacrificing your health, by sacrificing your own spirituality, maybe the sense of goodness in you, because you keep working so much, you give so much of your time and your energy into something, right? But there is a smarter way. There's a smarter and more life-supportive way of doing things. But that is eluded from you because you stay in the known. You're not willing to step into the unknown.
Just whereby people are always stuck in their caves of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And let's say right now it's 2020, the new year.
Yeah.
And many people talk about like setting new goals. And I always say that setting goals, it has to be uncomfortable. If not, you will never get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And coming back to, thanks for sharing that setback and that what you have learned is very apt for many people. We've met so many people who are going through the same, and we hope that this would be a useful advice for those who are listening. Do you have an experience that is related to overcoming pain and suffering, and now it's connected to your mission of happiness?
The only thing that comes into my mind right now is this notion about loneliness. Being the only son, being the only child in the family, right? And both my parents, they settled down very late. So I started working very early, and then I started supporting the family very early as well. And a lot of decisions that I had to make, right? I have to make those decisions very early in my life. Very difficult decision on my own, by myself, because there isn't family members to be able to talk about. And I think I also was brought in a family whereby I think many Chinese families can relate to it. Yes, and we don't talk about our family issues or our personal issues to people outside of our own family. It plagued my life for a long time because I felt that I have to do everything on my own. And there were times whereby, you have situations whereby if you do, you're damned. If you don't, you're damned as well. Those situations, right? There's no clear cut of how things are supposed to go, right? How things are supposed to go. And you have to be able to make a very tough decision. So I think that has helped me to, in some way, right, drive me to say that loneliness, right, can be self-imposed. Loneliness can be self-imposed in the sense that you think that whatever that you are suffering or your situation, right, is embarrassing, or people will judge you, or you're not going to be good in the eyes of other people. You're not going to be good in other people. So you don't dare to tell people. And that fear of people knowing the challenges that you have, right, and trying to contain that within you so that other people can see that you're on top of things. You are doing well. And see, one of this mindset is if people don't perceive you that way, they don't trust you, right? They don't trust that you can get things done.
Yep.
So that creates a very, very strong bind. And the more you try to put off the image that things are okay, the more lonelier you get. So I think that outside your family, you can establish work families. You can establish community families, right? You find a place where people can openly talk about their challenges, and they can hold an open space to be able to assist you, and they have the skill set, right, to be able to empower you rather than hold you back. Especially when we talk to certain people, right? We say that, it's good to be able to always talk to someone, but I said, it depends on who you talk to. Because some people you talk to, right, your world get darker, you know what I'm saying? So it depends. So part of the work is in that loneliness, right? That drives about how to create a family outside of your own, your work family, your community family, world family, right? So that people can really come together and share their challenges and equip with the right tools and skills to make the world a better place. So that's kind of like, for me, that's very real in terms of my own journey, in terms of overcoming my own loneliness and fear. The fact that if people know that if there are certain struggles or challenges that I have, they may not trust me, or they may not see that I am someone they can actually work with in that sense.
When you talk about the loneliness that you were facing, and you say the part about loneliness can be actually self-imposed.
Yeah.
And it can also tie in with different sort of emotions, like being sensitive to judgment, or being, it can also tie in with emotions such as fear, embarrassment, or we should call it shame.
Yeah.
And we do notice that this is quite prevalent in men per se.
Yeah.
Like they do feel lonely, and they are unable to reach out for help because they are unable to express their emotions.
Yeah.
And how did you, at a point of time, as you say that you were in a lonely place, feeling lonely, how do you deal with that internally, with that mindset that you had at a point of time?
I don't think there was a specific point in time, but it was something that has been going on since I can remember. It's part of maybe my DNA or something like this, being an only child in the family, being the only child in the family. But I think that the biggest shift came when I started on NLP, neurolinguistic programming, back in 1995. And essentially, it's a methodology, a tool, and a process to be able to help you bring out the best in you. And there's a structure to it, right? It's not just motivational or philosophical, but there are frameworks, models, and things that you could do with your thoughts, your feelings, and your action, your speech pattern, in order to be able to get different results in your life, right? So, but that still doesn't take care of the loneliness, because you just get good at it in terms of, orchestrating your life. But it's when I started working with people and I started to set up I attract more people to come into my business. They want to join me, and I see that people are generous, understanding. They can share with you that whatever you're going through, you're not alone. And it's not embarrassing, because we all have more or less somewhat the same challenge as you. Yeah. And now with this set of tools, we are able to make some changes. But nevertheless, it's great that there are a group of people that you can talk to who, number one, has got a certain level of self-mastery. They're able to open a space for you to express yourself, and they're able to utilize the right interaction and skills to support you to come up with the answers for yourself that will work for you. And they are there to be able to give you additional support, personal support, or sometimes they can give you financial support, or sometimes they can give you resources that you can use in that sense. So by going through all that process, right, over a period of time, right, that loneliness becomes something whereby it has faded into the background. So that's how I conclude, right, the fact that loneliness is self-imposed. Actually, there are people out there, many people out there that share the same human experience. That you are not one isolated case. We are all on this giant spaceship called Earth, right? Moving through space, incredible speed, right? And all of us, right, came into this world with a certain set of conditions, right? That is not just, yes, in many ways it's unique, but there are also a lot of places that's common. That's common in that sense. Yeah. So by understanding that, right, getting into that space of the work, then this idea about, which becomes some kind of like emphasis for me right now. I often end my training program or whatever to say that loneliness is self-imposed. And part of the reason why the community that we set up is to be able to say that you are not alone. And whatever that you need, right, there's going to be a group of people that you can reach out to be able to talk about, and people who are trained to be able to find and create solutions in a way that you can empower yourself with. And they are there to support you. They are in someone, they are like-minded, Light.
Like-minded.
Yes.
Not
Light,
dark-minded.
not dark-minded in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
But-
need to be able to have certain level of personal development, inner work, right? To be able to bring out the light in you. I mean, you can't appreciate light without darkness. Darkness is one of the spectrum of light, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not all bright and cheery. There are in the spectrum of light. There's going to be dark, maroon, bloody, very terrible colors, or mucus green kind of color in our lives. But the whole spectrum of that light, right? That whole color, right? Help us to be able to appreciate that within those dark moments, it shapes us. It can shape us to bring out the humanity in us, that I can share the suffering. I think that when people can relate with suffering, right, more so than joy, more so than joy. But when people can relate with suffering, right, then right, the union, the relationship becomes stronger, because I know that whatever that you are going through, whatever that you are going through, I have it too.
Yep.
And I'm therefore not better than you.
Yep.
I'm not better than you.
Yep.
I'm not superior than you. And that's the true definition of what we call compassion. Compassion. It's not just one-on-one. It's a human condition, right? A human condition in that sense.
Compassion, isolation, empathy, collaboration, and love. I think this is all part of a human condition.
Yeah.
I dig the part which I find really interesting, because you say at the darkest time, these are the darkest moments that we could really connect with each other, come and support each other. And this is where we formulate a community and a union in terms of understanding and connection. And I also like the part you said earlier about how we can also we need certain level of self-awareness in order to be vulnerable. A lot of personal work has to be done.
Yeah.
So we have the capacity to reach out past that discomfort and to recognize that those components that help us grow.
Yeah.
And if you could offer an advice to those who are lonely, or those who are suffering, or who are in a bad place, what would it be?
It's a tough question to answer, because it really depends on the level of severity, the degree of severity that you are in. Someone who is so-called in a dark place or struggling, they are not severely psychologically compromised. They read a book, they watch a video, they talk to some friends, and then they got some idea, and then boom, next day they can get out of it, right? But if you're talking about people who are in a dark place of depression, for example, the statistics is actually quite staggering, right? Shocking and staggering, because it has gone up. It has gone up dramatically, and it seems to hit people at a much younger age right now, and which then ties in with this notion about resilience, right? But first things first is to be able to talk about how do you actually orchestrate your day, which means find a way to be able to get your health back online. Now, whether you're emotionally compromised because of children, spouse, and whatever, work-related, whatever, it boils down to this. When you're feeling like shit, right? If you take the biochemistry of someone at that moment in time, you draw out their blood and you analyze their blood, right? Not based on psychological profiling, but blood says it all. So if you're in that space, right, the first thing that we need to do is be able to start talking about how do we actually sleep at a certain time, get up at a certain time, get your diet right, and start creating some kind of exercise or work or life routine, right, that get you to go places, do certain things, that gets your body moving, engage with people, or doing certain things that's meaningful. Meaningful could be actually meeting up with friends, catching up with certain topics, or going for long walks, or being able to cook a meal with someone. There's some meaningful activity. That means you're in and about, moving around your life, and then get some basic exercise. And one of the most powerful exercise I can think of is actually go for long walks in nature. What time you get up, your diet, control your diet, have meaningful activities planned out throughout the entire day. And I think that if you're able to kind of force yourself, right, to go into some form of either long walks or simple exercises, go for some form of exercise routine, right? I think that once your body starts to move and you start interacting with life, sunlight, and movement, when you start moving your body, you change your biochemistry, right? When you change your biochemistry, you change the way you feel from moment to moment. So when your biochemistry is become better, then thinking about solution, going for training programs or counseling or whatever that is, right, will work. But this is a very sensitive area, but I think that people have gone through a lot of therapy or counseling and all this stuff. They've done a ton of that, but they go back home, everything remained the same. They didn't realize the thing that they drink, the things that they eat, the kind of routine that they go through, right, basically reinforce, right, the shitty feeling that you are feeling every single day. So get your routine change first. Change your routine to support life.
I like that part you
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
because as a psychotherapist myself, in the field of positive psychology, we see a lot of people who wants change.
yeah,
And you talk about like once they finish a therapy session or the coaching session, they go back to an environment that has previously reinforced their prior biochemistry setup.
yeah,
And so, and we always coming back to we need to also modify not just thoughts and emotions. We need to modify how the way we will engage our lives.
mm,
And if we could look at, for example, a person who is depressed or having some sort of anxiety or chronic emotional setbacks,
mm,
we should look at the antecedents of like what did you do earlier to make you feel that way? Do you drink coffee? Do you sleep late? Do you hang out with certain types of people? Do you
yeah,
consume content or
yeah,
some sort of television series or whichever that attributes to your emotional state? We
yeah,
should go
yeah,
backwards and look at all these things, which is
yeah,
relevant to what you just said, Bunny. Just spot on. Very good
yeah,
advice. So can
yeah.
you share with us, Bunny, that what is your daily habit or practice that contributes to your well-being?
And in my programs, right, I will inculcate a routine that they will be getting into, which is the art and science of setting intentions every day. That means before we start class, we set intentions for the day. And then at the end of the day, we will do an acknowledgement of ourselves of the intention that we have set for the day, right? So the intention is not about what I want to get out of the day. The intention who I want to be throughout the entire day. So it's a bit more lengthy, this explanation for that, but it's essentially it's about building on character, values or qualities that you want to develop in yourself, right? For some people is I want to be more optimistic. For some people is I want to be more calm. For some people I want to be more clear-headed. Because if every day you just gain 1% of that person that will support you in becoming a happier person, and you're living and breathing those qualities on 1% a day, right? It means, right, in a period of about 100 to 200 days, you can actually change your outlook in life in that sense. So it starts with the intention setting in the morning and then self-acknowledgement at night. Because sometimes we talk about certain things, then at the end we say, so what do I do? What can I do tomorrow again? I don't know, right? So then you go into a space whereby I hope that my day will turn out right. The fact is, life throws us a lot of curveballs.
Yeah.
But it is the quality that you set in yourself to say, how am I going to respond to the curveballs in my life? And it's not about the curveballs, it's actually how you respond to it, right? So there's a science behind in terms of setting the intention. There's a science in terms of learning from the events of the day. And that brings us together, right, into this idea about utilizing NLP and setting into a daily routine, right? And then we work on yourself. And then you can actually learn from the group. Some of the things that they do, we can actually model after them. Or something that you overcome, right? And some people say, wow, I could relate with you. And it's something that I need to do myself. So we're trying to get the community to learn from each other and we can model from each other in that sense. But it's more about the fact that I've lived my life well in a sense. I've lived my life well. There are ups and downs in life, but I am saying that the way I've orchestrated my day, when I look at myself, who I am, how I responded throughout the day, right, there's a smile in my heart. Rather than when I look back at myself and I, in some way, it says that I actually move closer to the darkness rather than moving closer to the light.
I
So
love
that,
the part when you talk
yeah,
about when I look back at myself in terms of self-acknowledgement that I have a smile and I experience a smile in my heart.
yeah, yeah,
So for those who are listening, we are talking about setting intention and at the early in the day, and then at
mm,
the end of the day, we do a
yeah,
self-acknowledgement.
yeah,
And I like what Barney said about having a community. So it's very important for you to reach out to have a community on your own and talk about these things
yeah,
that really add
yeah,
value to you.
yeah.
And so, Barney, what advice would you give to your earlier self when you were in your 20s?
Hmm. I think a large part of in my early 20s, right, there were a lot of times, mm, I see the world in a more competitive manner. It's a world that's very competitive. So my advice to myself is start taking what we call a longer term perspective. Who do you want to be in a 5 or 10 year time, 5 to 10 years time? That's based not so much on external standards that's been set out there, but be able to look at in terms of what is something that you can actually develop within yourself, right? That will bring form an area of your passion. I hate to use the word passion because passion it's an empty word. I don't know what a lot of time people have got so many different definitions of passion. But essentially looking at yourself, what are some of the things that you know that you have the capacity, something that you are excited about, something that you know that your life history shows that you have a certain flair, you have a certain strength in it, and you know that if you develop on that, you can be of value to other people and take a longer term perspective so that you set up your own plan of your own inner game rather than having a game plan set by other people and you just go all over the place and try to outwit everybody else, you know. But you can outwit everybody else, but you still end up in this place, right? Not feeling that you have fulfilled. You you feel that you're happy. You feel that you have done something good with your life in that sense. You know, because you're still chasing all those things that's outside of you. You know,
Mm.
that would
I
be my advice.
I
Yeah,
like the part you talk about setting your own inner game and not living the world based on other
yeah, yeah,
expectations, and what the
yeah,
society wants you to do, right?
yeah,
Like having
yeah,
that longer term perspective.
yeah,
Thank you for that, Bunny. Is there a plug I can use for your website? Because I know that for those people who are listening in, they want to find you, and you are on www.mindtransformations.com.
yeah. Mind transformations with an S behind .com.
.com. And how can they find you apart from your website? Can they find you on your Facebook, or is there
Yeah,
an email that they can reach out to you?
yeah. Facebook is Barney Wee, BarneyWee, and then uh, email is a little bit more complicated. Barney at NLP SG, short for Singapore, SG Asia,
Okay.
ASIA.com.
Okay. So we
Barney
have
at NLP SG Asia.com. Yeah,
okay. Thank you for that.
yeah.
And so the last question for you, Bunny, would be, what is the next significant thing in life that you are currently looking forward to?
Well, there's so many things right now.
What pop ups
One
in your head? Yeah.
first thing first things first is I'm currently working on my PhD, and there's a lot of surprises when you're working on a PhD. You just prove to yourself there are a lot of things that you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So uh but that's something that I'm looking forward to because I wanted to be able to bring a new aspect of knowledge, right, into NLP. For me, personal development and spiritual development, they are not two separate things. They are actually on the same continuum. If you go to the end of personal development, you are just one hairline away from actually seeing the spiritual side of things. So I'm trying to create a framework to be able to bring NLP into helping people evolve into a more complete spiritual and human being. And that adds in terms of how they can actually bring more goodness into the world in that sense. So that's something I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
Thank you, Bunny. And for those who are listening in, we this is my takeaway from the session from Bunny, and that would be self mastery could be involved, and it could be always continue And it's a lot also about having this internal, setting our own inner game. And we can always start with having that dedication towards a mindset development, because our mindset, if we change ourselves, we improve ourselves, we also impact the world.
Mm.
And for those of you who are listening in, if you have any thoughts, and what would have one question for you would be, what is the one single biggest takeaway from this session? Please leave your comment, your feedback on our Facebook page, Getting Naked with Happiness, or YouTube, Getting Naked with Happiness. And thank you for your time, for listening in. I look forward to seeing you or hearing from you for the next episode. Thank you very much.